The Honourable Member for Murchison.
Mr President, I do appreciate the time. I just want to speak very briefly on a matter that is important because of the international interest. Mr President, the eyes of the world have been on a remote part of my electorate and in our state in recent days. Sadly, as a result of a tragic mass stranding of approximately 470 pilot whales. These whales became stranded in Macquarie Harbour at Macquarie Heads, on Ocean Beach and Betsy's Bay in Macquarie Harbour. Tragically, only a small number of these pilot whales have been able to be saved. The mass stranding is believed to be the largest mass stranding event and death toll in Australia's history, with approximately 470 whales stranded at the stage. On this sad occasion, the first stranding of approximately 270 pilot whales occurred near Macquarie Heads, with the smaller pod stranding on Ocean Beach. The second stranding noted at Betsy's Bay, 10 kilometres inside the Macquarie Harbour, south of the Heads, where sadly all of those whales died. To quote an article in the Mercury today regarding the stranding, how it was discovered, Darryl Delaney from Ulverston said when he reported the stranding to police, when he discovered the whales on the sandbar during a morning walk at Macquarie Heads at Strawn on 7:30am Monday morning. The recreational fisher in his mid-70s watched rescue operations unfold on Wednesday morning, so he'd never seen anything like it and he never wanted to again. Mr President, he then said he drove back into Strawn and told the police, telling them that they didn't want to see what was actually happening. Mr President, this tragedy led to a constituent of mine reflecting on her experience of observing a whale stranding off Marrawar in 1990s. She said it was terrible to hear and see the whales calling out as the sun went down. She said her friends who lived on the hill watched the pod swimming and playing about in the bay all day, and then late in the afternoon one headed to shore and the rest followed. They crossed rocky reefs, ripping their skin open as they made a beeline for the beach. And the sound was sad and tragic. So, Mr President, it must be really traumatic and difficult for the people listening to those cries to each other as the whales and to trying to be saved. I also note there were some comments made by Edith Bevan on ABC. I just want to read. This highlights the tragedy of it. Sorry, Mr President. Where she said that I'll tell you in a minute. She said the crews out there doing the rescue have told us that baby pilot whales are swimming in the shallows near their stranded mothers, knocking into rescuers and swimming between their legs as they try to free the adult whales. One rescuer said it's just the grimmest thing. These people who are rescuing these whales will need some support after this event. Mr President, in noting this sad event, I also note the support given by those involved in the aquaculture industry who have actively supported the effort to save the whales. I understand boats from Petuna Aquaculture, Tashow and Huon Aquaculture were involved in the rescue efforts, towing whales through the narrow gates of Macquarie Harbour, from Macquarie Heads back to the open seas. This is particularly significant as anyone who's been to Macquarie Heads and out through Hell's Gates, known as the Gates, would appreciate the risk and danger associated with any such effort, only about 30 metres wide, in what is often very treacherous conditions to navigate through. I also note in media commentary from the Marine Conservation Program wildlife biologist Chris Carlian that there appears to be no answers to why the big group of whales came into the harbour and probably never would be. Mr President, I always do wonder why whale strandings occur, and it seems we'll probably be still unlikely to know. I'm sure this has been a devastating rescue operation for those directly involved, and the incident controller, Nick Decker from Parks and Wildlife Service, said the rescue effort had been reasonably successful. On the first day they'd managed to save about 25 whales, had been lifted by sling and boat and escorted through the channel out to sea. He stated in interviews with the media that the squally conditions in Strawn on Tuesday were challenging for the rescuers, but actually were slightly beneficial for the stranded animals. I wish to acknowledge and thank those involved in the rescue effort, as I said, including the fish farm workers from the nearby salmon farms and more than 60 Department of Primary Industry, Water, Parks and Environment staff and the other trained volunteers, including members of 5 surf clubs from across northern Tasmania who joined the rescue effort. As I said, all three companies took part, aquaculture companies had a role in this, but I know Petuna have a much larger presence in Macquarie Harbour. And CEO Ruben Alvarez had made the company's position very clear to all employees in Strawn that they were free to offer whatever assistance was required to teams working on the ground. Petuna contributed the following: 2 cargo nets lined with 32mm mesh for lifting the whales, 2 jet boats, a yakka, which is a heavy works vessel, several strops and 5 men at a time to assist the recovery as needed. They also offered food and water, but Parks and Wildlife had already done that. Petuna employees on the ground who've put in a huge effort over the past few days and who continue to be heavily involved include the General Manager of Marine Operations, Robert Wyville, the Senior Manager of Macquarie Harbour, Don McIntyre, Thomas Mountney, Ty Becker, Nick Hall, Anna Roberts, Jeff Sollers, Jeremy Hickey, Darren Spotswood, Andrew Davis, Jai Triffett, Luke Cannon and Josh Cleveland. And of course, allowing those people to assist in the whale rescue has meant others at Petuna have taken on significantly heavier workloads at the farms. So it's really the entire team in Strawn who have had to be acknowledged for their efforts. Petuna also often to assist the government in any way to help the potential burial of the dead whales and to transport to sea the dead whales. These discussions are ongoing as I speak. I also hope to see ongoing research into this important matter to not only make future rescue efforts more successful hopefully, as they can be, knowing that this is not a unique circumstance, but it is of a scale that we haven't seen before in Australia, but also to identify any reasons for or factors contributing to such events with a view to preventing what's possible. But I just wanted to acknowledge the extraordinary efforts of all those involved down there. There's a lot of government employees down there through Parks and Wildlife and the companies that are in that place. It is really sad, and it must be really traumatic for the rescuers seeing some of the scenes they're seeing. Thank you, Mr. President.